Hey, good evening, everybody. How are you? This is Freddie Ewan, 2022 Pantheon Cup champion, two-time GM of the year, reigning regular season champion, and host of the Tpffkal show. I am no longer the reigning Pantheon Cup champion because we have a Pantheon Cup winner in a pretty phenomenal game that went down. FJTK, my preseason pick, and my boy, Mr. James Winchell, is this year's Pantheon Cup winner. Great job by the Virginia SEADOGS. Put up a heck of a fight, a 4-point game. Just super exciting. FJTK got the start. They got 23 points out of Brees Hall on Thursday night. On Saturday night, CeeDee Lamb went absolutely off. 227 receptions, receiving yards, 13 receptions, and a receiving touchdown. Big throw by Dak. But then on the other side, out of Lamar Jackson, if this guy's not the MVP, I don't know who is. Lamar Jackson puts up 46 points. 5 passing touchdowns, 321 passing yards, 35 rushing yards. Lamar Jackson is going to be the MVP of the NFL. Hear me not. Great showing by the SeaDogs. They came all the way roaring back, got almost 30 points out of Kyron Williams. Puka puts up another big game. Really could have just, and Brian's going to probably kicking himself because I know that he had changed and switched defenses a couple times. Had the Houston defense in. Houston defense scored 20 points, ended up playing the Vegas defense against the Colts, and they only put up 2 points, which turned out him and, Eckler once again just puts up 4 points. Really was the Diggs didn't have that great a game either. Really was the turning point. On the other side, Travis Kelce, only 3 points, and it really came down. I think there was like a 6-point lead that the SeaDogs had. Justin Jefferson projected to score 20 points, only had 5 receptions and 59 receiving yards for 8 points, but it was good enough. FJTK, your Pantheon Cup champion. Congratulations, James, and also just really cool to meet your son the other day. Love the bonding's just great. Father son sharing a fantasy football championship. That's gotta be pretty cool. So congratulations, James, and once again, great year, Brian. Really great year. James is the first one who has come out of the wild card to win a Pantheon Cup. He is the last 2 years, the number 2 seeds have won the Pantheon Cup. This year, it was a number 4 seed. Struggled in the first game, barely got by, chicken of the cave, and then just blowing the lights off of TOD. And, really the 2 best teams of the year played each other, and, it was the one to watch for. In the third place game, the 2 veteran teams, the 2 teams that have been to the playoffs before, the 2 teams that know what it's like to play in big playoff games, faced off. And this was a good game too. For the most part, TOD was leading most of the way. They got a big game out of Devontae Adams, 34 points. I don't know why Devontae Adams is put as the bust of the year. Devontae Adams has had a couple bad games, but he's put up some really good games too. I would think Tony Pollard is more of the bust of the year. I saw that somewhere. DJ Moore, another big game. Found out that Sutton was going to be out. This was TOD's problem all year. They were really short on receivers. They put in Cedric Wilson. He did get him 9 points, but rest of the way, James Cook, who was great 2 weeks ago, puts up 4 points. Tony Pollard, awful, 5 points. George Kittle didn't do much. Saquon Barkley didn't do much. On the bench, David Montgomery Ford would have put Montgomery in, probably would have been 8 points different, but would not have been enough. TDK gets the job done. Jalen Hurts, 3 passing touchdowns, 26 yards. Eagles play. Jalen Hurts is pretty amazing because he's, I don't think Jalen Hurts has been playing well, and he's still putting up 26 points. Tyreek Hill didn't do much. Godwin puts up 15 points, and a big game by ETN. For TDK, Laporta did not do anything in that game Saturday night at all, and then totally came out on the final drive, made a bunch of caught a bunch of passes. Jalen Warren also 75 rushing yards, and TDK wins third place. TOD gets fourth place. TDK, their second consecutive third place finish. They've been second, third, and third. TOD has finished third, first, and fourth. So that's exciting, and this is going to be the penultimate episode. We're going to have one more episode before this, where hopefully we're going to have a lot of guests on. We're gonna address a couple things in just a little bit. But just going on to some other games really quickly, the San Patricio Rock Throwers pick up their third consecutive consolation bracket finish, 7-7-7. They win their third straight consolation bracket for another 7th place finish. They beat Donks for Life Quatch Style, who came off at the end, also in the 9th and 10th place game. Probably one of these guys, maybe the two favorites, probably for next year in the played each other between Shake and Bake and the Red Sharks. Red Sharks win that game in a blowout. Gonna really start looking at some keepers and guys that they can keep for next year, as everyone is. That's the new thing. The TPFFKAL goes year round. It's exciting. It is exciting. Being the host of the TPFFKAL show, I am fortunate enough to talk to a lot of different GMs and whatnot. And, I try to do this show as just the TPFFKAL show host and not the GM of Team of Destiny, but I'm kind of going to serve in that role today for the next part of this episode as well. So talking to a lot of people, it looks like there needs to be a lot of role changes going through the future. A lot of there's been this is a interesting league. This is something that's trading cap room, guys that know each other pretty well, guys that are some guys kind of know each other, some guys are really good friends with each other. Not a total stranger league, but also not like a total like we all went to the same frat league, either. So it's kind of it's a good dynamic, and it works for the most part. There's been I've been on the board for the last 3 years, and we had to put a lot of rules in, basically for one particular player that is no longer with us, which is as far as, cap room and, what week you can make trades and blah, 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 blah. And, the TPFFKL is still it's still a work in progress. And hopefully the board will do some things this year to keep it going. Just a couple things that I've talked to other GMs about, which, I think almost need to be addressed almost immediately. There is nothing in the rules on sell back trades or buyback trades, but what that basically looks to me is, I never thought of having that discussion with anyone and saying, hey, let me buy this player from you and then I'll sell him back to you at a later date. That sounds a lot like a type of collusion to me. And if it was, if I was the commissioner of a league, and something like that would happen, I could tell you that it wouldn't fly. Just because, borrowing a player and then selling him back is kind of like, hey, give me this player, let me use them for a little while for, $26 and I'll send him back to you for $18. It's almost like a keeper league without salary cap where you're saying, hey, I'm going to trade you, Debo Samuel for, or let me put it this way. Hey, it's like being in a keeper league and say, hey, I'm going to trade you. I'm gonna borrow Justin Jefferson and trade you Jordan Addison for him. But next year I'm going to trade Justin Jefferson back to you, and you can give me Cooper Kupp. Something like that. That's what it kind of is. It's kind of like a trade with an asterisk where, and I think those buyback trades need to be banned almost immediately and need to be looked at. The other thing that I also want to talk about is I really want to get a list of what trades were made this year and who had to pay escrow and who did not pay escrow. I believe, I'm not completely sure of this, that I was the only one that made an escrow payment, or that was supposed to make an escrow payment due to a trade that I made with the commissioner that was over the cap dollars. There were teams and players that made trades and designed it specifically to get around paying the escrow. And as far as my knowledge is, that has not been addressed at all. That escrow has not been paid. And because of that, I've refused to pay the trade that I made with the commissioner from doing the right thing. And, I know the escrow was put in for a reason. I think, there was a big argument over last year over, how much the escrow should be. And, I think that it really, the escrow amount really needs to be maxed out at whatever next year's buy-in is, or the appropriation for next year's buy-in. And that actually worked out because we had someone, who didn't want to play this year. He abandoned his team, and hours before, and we were fortunate to find a pickup, but it was basically a free roll for him. He had a shitty team. He had like $80 in salary cap, but he did not have to pay this year because we already collected his money, which I think is very fair. So I've never had any problem paying the escrow. I was one of the ones who came up with the idea, and certainly have no reason to try to get around the escrow. I understand that money is tight for some people. You don't want to pay the escrow. I just opened, 2 businesses, so I, completely understand how money is, extremely tight right now. But it's like if you're trying to make trades to get around the escrow, I made that trade, the escrow trade with the commissioner, and if I said, hey, let's do this trade and this trade, so neither of us have to pay the escrow, that wouldn't have flied. So quite frankly, I had refused to pay the escrow amount, and due to that, my 4th place winnings I have not received yet. So and I'm told that I still owe money to the escrow. I still owe $20. Actually, I owe the full thing for next year, believe it or not, because I had made some trades which were double trades too, to avoid the escrow amount. And I think that needs to be addressed immediately too. I don't, it's like we have teams right now where, I think, there's a couple teams with $140 in cap room which have not made any escrow payment whatsoever. And if there's a sense if they abandon their team, we're going to have to go out and looking for another GM and saying, hey, you got to pay the full amount. You got to pay the $200 and $250 entry fee. But guess what? You're going to be starting with $60 less cap room than anyone else. And you got shitty keepers on top of that. So, I think that needs to be, anyone who's made, any kind of these double trades, including myself, because I made them too, needs to really pay the full amount and has to pay, and should pay it immediately for next year. That's just my opinion. I'm not going to pay any more escrow until that's figured out, period. Because it's like I'm not trying to get around anything. I believe that the escrow should be paid when trades are made like that. And you shouldn't try to get around it. But if everyone else is going to try to get around it, fuck, I am too. So that's it. So hopefully we are going to have one more episode. We're going to have some guests on. We are going to try to get the GM of the year votes all together, hand out some different awards on the, best wide wire pickup, who was the best quarterback, the bust of the year, the rookie of the year, who the MVP of the Tpffkal is as far as the player, but most importantly, who the GM and owner of the year was. That'll be exciting who gets that. And it was a great season. I think it was a great season for everyone. The Tpffkal show's first year, we had a lot of fun. We had we had a lot of support from a key core of GMs that I really appreciate, and loved having you on. We had a great time. And, really hope that we get more GMs involved in the show and, in the league as well. There's a couple of GMs that you rarely hear from, and hope that next year they just get a little more involved, because it's like I'm in 3 other leagues. I'm the commissioner of 2 other leagues, but I spend more time on this than, and I'm in leagues that are a lot more expensive than this one, but I spend more time on this, but just because it's a ton of fun. But once again, congratulations to both James and Badger. Awesome year. I picked you guys at the beginning of the year to win it all. I was correct. FJTK beat me twice. James is my boy, so I had a rooting interest. I wanted to see James. I wanted to see James win, but I also thought it would have been nice if the SEADOGS win too. He would have never shut the fuck up about it. He would have just been, telling me every day about how he's the champion, He would have been humble to everyone else, but he would have been telling me, Brian would have been telling me every day that he is the Pantheon Cup champion. I mean, who would do something like that? But Brian had a great year. But I was kind of I wanted to see both of them win just because I wanted to see Brian win. Just tell him that, hey, I beat the champ in back-to-back weeks. But didn't work out that way. But great years by both players. Once again, nothing to be disappointed in by any of the top 4 teams or in the playoff teams. Everyone really had a great year, and looking forward to next year. Hope these rules are addressed swiftly and promptly. Have a great night, everybody.